A very warm afternoon to all my dear accountancy students and welcome once again to the lecture of Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. This is Professor Shaurya Shah welcoming you all to our own lecture. Now dear students, in the last lecture we started with your chapter number 1, that is Concepts under Companies Act 2013. We started with the financial year, students. We completed that part also, right? We saw the definition of financial year, what are the provisions in that. Then we started with the next part, students, that was your one person company, right? We saw again the meaning of one person company, what are the features of one person company, and again who can become the member of one person company and who cannot become it, right? And then we started with the concept of your share capital. Then we need to begin it further in today's lecture, right? I hope each and every one of you are clear with the last lecture's part. So with that, again revision of last lecture will be starting with today's part, share capital, right? As students, in the last lecture I gave you a brief idea of what share capital is all about. Fine, today we have to begin with the kinds of share capital, right, that are prevalent in the company. And then in that you need to study two important concepts in this chapter, that is your issued capital and paid up capital. Fine, so again that are having subtypes that we will see. Fine, so this is the types of capital basic chart you need to study. The very first amongst that is your authorized share capital, students, right? So we'll be studying each and every type of capital in detail and what are the features of that capital, under which section it is defined. Fine, so we'll see one by one. First of all, we'll start with authorized capital, students, right? Now what do you mean by authorized capital, students? You all must be aware regarding the concept of it, right? Why the term authorized capital it is given. Fine, so first of all, authorized capital, or it can be again said as nominal capital or registered capital. What is it all about? Authorized capital, students, means such a capital as it is authorized by the memorandum of the company to be the maximum amount of share capital of a company, right? As the name itself says, why it is authorized capital? Because it is authorized by your memorandum of company. Now all of you must be aware regarding the memorandum of association, right? It is the main charter of the company, students, where there are various clauses, right? Maybe related to name clause, maybe related to office clause, maybe capital clause, maybe registered office clause, right? So all those capital clause which is included in MOA, that shows that maximum capital which a company can issue is known as your authorized capital. Fine, students, many a times in your balance sheet you must have studied one line, that authorized capital is 10 lakh shares of 10 rupees each, that is equals to 1 crore, right? So that is the maximum capital. It never forms part of your balance sheet, it is just a information. Fine, under section 2 of subsection 8 Companies Act 2013, authorized capital is defined. So you need to understand the definition of each and every type of capital, students, under which section it is given, and again some more information and example for it. Fine, again it is also known as, students, nominal capital, means the basic capital, or registered capital. Why registered capital? Because this is the capital with which your company has started, right, and it is registered with the ROC. That is why it is known as registered capital also, right? Again, it can be changed according to your necessities of the company, right? It can be either increased or decreased. Now also it is not necessary, students, to know that authorized capital completely to issue it or again to subscribe it, right? The company may issue the capital as per the requirements, but in any case it should not exceed the issued capital, right, students? Because the issued capital cannot be more than your authorized capital, because authorized capital is the total capital. We'll be seeing again with the help of example, but for now you need to remember that it can never be less than issued capital, because out of total capital you are issuing, so that both cannot be, it can be equal but cannot be less. I hope it is clear to each and every student, right? So what is the basic in crux? What is share capital? Share capital is the total capital of the company which is divided into smaller units, and they are known as shares, right? And the smallest unit is known as your share. Is it clear to all of you? Fine. Moving ahead, students, the second type is your issued capital. Right, now issued capital is one of the part. We need to study the entire family of issued capital, right? So what is issued capital? Issued capital is defined under section 2 subsection 50 of Companies Act, students, right? So you need to remember the section of each and every capital. All we are studying is section 2 only. right? So section 2 will remain same in each and every definition. Only thing you need to remember is the subsection which is written in the bracket. So authorized capital is 8, issued capital is 50, right? What is issued capital? Issued capital means such a capital as the company issues from time to time for subscription, right? Again students, it is that portion of the authorized capital that has been issued for public subscription, right? In your balance sheet you must have studied this lines, right? So what does that mean? First of all, authorized capital is always written, it is closed with two lines. Then the next is written issued, subscribed and paid up capital, right? There are three different terms you need to study: issued, subscribed and paid up capital. So out of total example which I gave you, 10 lakh shares of 10 rupees each, my issued capital may be less than 10 lakh, right? For example, I have issued only 5 lakh shares for public subscription. It can be either through IPO, that is initial public offering, or it can be through any other measures you are selling it to public, fine. So that is known as issued capital, the number of shares. For example, I am selling 5 lakh shares of 10 rupees each to people, right? So what is my issued capital, students? Issued capital is 5 lakh into 10 rupees, right? So that is 50 lakh rupees. That is my issued capital. Again, this includes shares which are issued for public subscription, that is issued to public, shares allotted for consideration other than cash, right? Many a times what you people do is, right, as a company, you are, instead of paying cash to the stakeholders or instead of paying cash to the creditors or debenture holders, you are giving them the shares of the company. So that is also a part of issued capital. Shares taken by the directors as a qualifying shares, right? Many a times the directors, board of directors are formed, they need to purchase certain shares known as qualifying shares, right? So that is also included in issued capital. So it includes in all whatever money you have received for the particular capital is known as issued capital, right? Again, the same logic, issued capital cannot exceed authorized capital, right? It can never exceed, because authorized capital is the total capital and your issued capital is the part which is issued out of it and you have received money for that. I hope it is clear, students. The next capital in this family is your subscribed capital, right? So we are now studying the types of issued capital. Broadly, it is authorized, out of that issued capital. Unissued you don't need to study because it is not issued only, right? So it is not at all use of anything for us. So issued capital, in that we have started with your subscribed capital, right? What do you mean by subscribed capital, students? Subscribed capital means such part of the capital which is for time being subscribed by the members of the company, right? Now the second heading in your balance sheet you always used to study: issued, subscribed, right? So what is subscribed capital? Out of the total shares I have issued, for example, take of what I gave you, that is of 5 lakh shares, right? So 5 lakh shares I opened up in the market in order to get the public subscription. Out of that, 4 lakh shares people subscribed it, right? So 4 lakh into 10, that is again 40 lakh is my subscribed capital. What was my authorized capital? 10 lakh shares of 10 each, that was 1 crore. What is my issued capital? 50 lakh rupees, right? That is 5 lakh shares into 10 rupees. And what is my subscribed capital? 4 lakh shares into 10 rupees. Is it clear? So first is authorized, then issued, then subscribed. It can never be jumbled up, right? So subscribed capital means such part of capital which is for time being subscribed by the members of the society. Under which section it is? Section 86 of Companies Act 2013, right? Again, I will repeat, authorized capital was your section 2 subsection 8, issued capital was section 2 subsection 50, and subscribed capital is section 2 subsection 86, right? I hope it is clear to everyone. Now this also includes your shares subscribed by the public, shares allotted for consideration other than cash, and shares taken by directors as qualifying shares, and shares subscribed by the signatories, right? Shares subscribed by the signatories are the persons who signed the memorandum of association and the company deed at the time of formation of the company, right students? So they are also purchasing some of the shares, and that is also included in this particular part. I hope it is clear to each and every student, fine. So this is your subscribed capital, students, fine. Now subscribed capital again is divided into two main heads, right? What are those two main heads? We will see. Subscribed and fully paid up capital. Subscribed and fully paid up capital, right? I suppose you all are clear and you know majority of the facts. Till now we have learned it already, but according to Companies Act you need to study it. Fine. So subscribed and fully paid up, what do you include in subscribed and fully paid up, students? Now when the company has called up the total face value of the shares, right, and it has received the amount, it is known as subscribed capital. Now again we had done the liquidation chapter, right, very recently. So in that liquidation chapter also, 2 to 3 long sums, we had seen that there are 3 type of equity shares. Amongst that, some of the equity shares were fully paid up, some of them were partly paid up, right? So the term used was your again called up amount and paid up, right? So suppose I gave you the example of 4 lakh shares are subscribed. Out of those 4 lakh shares, if I have called up the full 10 rupees amount, so I have received 40 lakhs from them. So that is subscribed also and fully paid up also, right? I hope it is clear. So whenever the called up 10 rupees per share are also fully received, it means that the shares are subscribed and fully paid up. The next thing is, students, subscribed but not fully paid up. Right, so subscribed but not fully paid up means people have subscribed to our share but they have not fully paid up. Right, so again when the company has called up the total face value of the shares but has not received it, so that is considered as subscribed but not fully paid up. And again when the company has not called up the total nominal value of the shares but they have called up certain amount, then it is also subscribed but not fully paid up. I hope it is clear to each and everyone, right? Fine. So just a small example I'll give you, students, you'd have to listen it carefully, right? A company issued 20,000 shares of rupees 10 each. Assume, right, you have issued 20,000 shares of 10 each, right? Again you have not received the amount of 20,000. So what is the basic subscribed but not fully paid up example, right? So 20,000 shares into 10, 2 lakh rupees, the capital you should receive it. If against 2 lakh you receive complete 2 lakh rupees, right, then it is subscribed and fully paid up. But if against 2 lakh, right, you have not received 20,000 rupees, so how much you have received? 1 lakh 80,000. So what is 20,000? Right, you have called but you have not received. It is known as calls in arrears, right? Calls in arrears is the amount called up but the shareholder is not paying it, so it is known as calls in arrears. So that is an acute example of subscribed but not fully paid up. I hope it is clear. So in your authorized capital we did issued capital, in your issued capital we did subscribed capital also. I hope it is clear. And unsubscribed capital, right? What do you mean by unsubscribed capital, students? Unsubscribed capital is that amount of capital which is not subscribed by the people. For example, I gave you 5 lakh shares are issued, 4 lakh shares are subscribed. So what is the remaining 1 lakh for which people have not subscribed, right? So that 1 lakh is my unsubscribed capital. Is it clear? Now moving on in the family, type of subscribed capital, that is called up capital and uncalled up capital, right? So called up capital, section 2 subsection 15, right? Again the shareholders have to pay the price of the shares on installment basis, right? You must have studied one of the chapters of your share calls during your school time, right? So that is what we do not generally ask, right? In practical field the full face value is asked, but whenever we are doing sums in corporate accounting, only the first application money is received, students, right? It may be either 2-3 rupees along with the form. After that again allotment money is asked, right? When the shares are allotted you have been asking money for that, and after that you are asking first call, second call and final call, right? Either depends upon the company in what sequence they are asking. That is your called up capital. Shareholders pay the price of the shares on installment basis. It may be either application, allotment, right? So what is called up capital? Called up capital means such part of capital which has been called for payment, right? I am not using the word, students, I have received it. I am just making the use that I have called the capital. Just take for example, if the company has the face value of the share that is 10 rupees, right? And I have asked the 7 rupees face value from people. Is it clear? So that 7 rupees is known as called up capital because I have called for 7 rupees per share. Is it clear? The 3 rupees which is remaining, I can ask from that at any point of time whenever I require in future, right? But at present I require only 7 rupees. So that is called up capital. I hope it is clear. So authorized capital, inside that you have issued capital. In issued capital, subscribed and unsubscribed. In subscribed capital, you are studying called up capital. Fine. The next is your paid up capital, right? Very simple. In the line of your balance sheet, you need to study issued, subscribed and paid up capital, right? So what is paid up capital? Section 2 of subsection 64 of Companies Act defines this. Paid up capital means that amount that the shareholders have paid and the company has received against the amount called up in respect of shares towards the share capital. In the previous slides example, if I give you 10 rupees share was there, I have called up 7 rupees. And I have received that 7 rupees per share, right? So that 7 rupees is the company has received it, that is against called. I called 7 rupees and you have paid 7 rupees. So that is my paid up capital. The amount actually received from shareholders is known as paid up capital, right? Now paid up capital is, for example, if I give you that 7 rupees I had called up, but I received only 5 rupees from the shareholder. So what is my paid up capital? 5 rupees. That is 7 minus 2 rupees. So that will give me 5 rupees and 2 rupees is my calls in areas. Fine. So I hope it is clear to each and every student. So this is known as your paid up capital. Fine. So paid up capital we have completed. Now take a good example of comparison between authorized capital and paid up capital, students, right? So just see, for example, your entire glass is the capital structure of the company. The entire glass shows you the authorized capital, right? It is like the container, as you can see, that holds the water. Your entire container is there. It is the maximum amount of shares the company can issue, right? So this is the maximum amount. If you take a glass, for example, if you fill the entire full water in it, that is the maximum quantity you fill it up, right? Apart from that, you cannot fill more water in there. That is your authorized capital. To increase the authorized capital, shareholder approval and payment of fees to government is to be done, right? That is again a legal procedure you need to follow. On another example, paid up capital. In that glass, the amount of water you fill, that is your paid up capital. I hope it is clear. So paid up capital is like the water in the container. It is the amount of shares the company has issued to its shareholders, right? So whatever amount you are filling, that is your paid up capital. The company has the capacity to issue more shares up to the authorized capital of the company, right? So your water can be filled up only up to the maximum limit of the container, that is maximum limit of authorized capital. Hope it should be very much clear to you all, students. Fine. The next part is your uncalled capital, right? Now what do you mean by uncalled capital, students? Uncalled capital, it is that part of subscribed capital which has not yet been called up. Means this is the unpaid portion of the subscribed capital and the company may collect this amount anytime when it needs for further funds, right, students? So what is uncalled capital? Out of 10 rupees, if I have called up only 7 rupees, so the remaining 3 rupees which I am having, that is my uncalled capital. Is it clear to all? Fine. So I hope uncalled capital is clear. Now reserve capital, right? The last type of capital in the family of your issued capital, that is your reserve capital. What do you mean by reserve capital, students? A limited company, by passing a resolution, may reserve a portion of its uncalled capital to be called only in the event of winding up of the company, right? Now you just now read the uncalled capital, right? What is uncalled capital? The portion which is not yet called. So a limited company, by passing a resolution, means they may pass a decision in their company that the remaining portion, right now we are not having any necessity of it, right? So what we'll do is we'll keep it as reserve and then we will again put up that particular amount in the particular portion of the company, right? So that reserve capital is only and only called up at the time of liquidation of the company, right? So that resolution is passed upon by the board of the company and the portion which is kept reserve is known as reserve capital, right? Only simple logic is it can only be called up at the time of winding up of the company, right? So we saw the example in our liquidation chapter also. The previous two sums, that is the last two universal sums we did, right? So that amount was called up, the capital deficiency which we are calculating, right? Some of the shareholders we are returning and some of the shareholders we are calling the money. That is the acute example of your reserve capital which is found. I hope it is clear. So this uncalled capital of share capital is called reserve capital. Now reserve capital and capital reserve are two different terms, right? Many a times many students makes the mistake that capital reserve, they consider it to be the same, only the words are jumbled, right? They think, but that two words, when again AB and BA is completely different words, right? So that is jumbled. Now what do you mean by that? You need to understand, right? Capital reserve is a reserve which is created out of the capital profits, right? So that reserve which is created from your reserves and surplus and any capital profit which takes place is known as capital reserve. But reserve capital is a portion which is kept reserve out of your total capital, right? So there is a vast difference between both of the terms that you need to understand, right? Now again, capital reserve is not available for distribution as a dividend, right? You cannot divide dividend out of your capital reserve. And again, reserve capital is only required at the time of winding up of the company. Hope it's clear to each and every student, right? Now understand the concept of your all the capital which we have studied in today's lecture with the help of this diagram, right? We have gone in chronological sequence only so that it is easy for you. Now as you can see, you must have studied Venn diagram in your statistics, right? What is the largest universal set amongst that very small and all, right? So same thing, the largest rectangle shows you the authorized capital, students, right? So it is the maximum place in which you can do the capital, that is maximum capital you can issue. In that authorized capital, the smaller rectangle shows you the issued capital, right? Suppose I gave you the example of 10 lakh shares. So 10 lakh is the biggest rectangle. Amongst that, I have issued 5 lakh shares. So 5 lakh is my issued capital. From that, I gave you the example of 4 lakh shares, right? So 4 lakh shares is a part of issued capital, that is subscribed capital. In that subscribed capital, out of 10 rupees, I called only 7 rupees, right? I am continuing the same example throughout the lecture so that you understand. So 7 rupees is my called up amount. Out of that, 3 rupees is my uncalled amount, right? The remaining portion which is left out, that is my 3 rupees per share, is uncalled capital. Out of this called up capital, I received suppose 5 rupees per share. So 5 rupees is my paid up capital and 2 rupees which I didn't receive as calls in arrears is my unpaid capital. Hope it's clear to each and every student, right? So this diagram gives you the entire idea and the crux of all the lecture, right? So what you need to study is, students, definition should remain the same. As such, it is Companies Act. You cannot change the definition, you cannot change the words. Definition should remain the same. Other provisions you can write in your own words, but it should be logical and it should be according to the material and the text of the act, right? So issued capital, paid up capital, again and again it is asked in your exam, fine. So after your 1% company, after your issued and paid up capital and the financial year, this is the most important thing which is asked in the exam, fine. So we have completed 80% of the chapter. Now only two parts left in this chapter is your private company and public company, students, right? So we'll be seeing the next part, that is your public company, very briefly today, and then in the next lecture we'll be continuing in detail private company and public company, and we'll be concluding that in the next lecture, fine. So what do you mean by public company, students? Just the meaning we will see. According to section 2, remember again it is section 2 only, right? This all sections are helpful to you for your MCQs also. Whenever you are having MCQs in your exam, you will be helpful with that part. Section 2 and subsection 71 of Companies Act 2013, right? A public company means a company which is not a private company. So what is a public company? This is the definition of Companies Act, right? A public company is not a private company. Has minimum paid up capital of 5 lakh rupees or such higher paid up capital as may be prescribed, right? So minimum paid up capital. Now you all must be aware of the term paid up capital, right? So paid up capital means the money which you have received should not be less than 5 lakh. Higher, there is no cap, right? So if there is any prescribed limit, then it should be according to it. is a private company which is a subsidiary of public company, right? Either this company may be a private company, but it is a subsidiary of public company. I gave you the explanation of holding company and subsidiary company also, right? So if our company is such that it is a subsidiary of a public company, our holding company is a public company, right? So then it is also termed as public company. So three conditions, students. The very first, a public company means a company which is not a private company. Second, it has a minimum paid up capital of 5 lakh rupees. And the third is a private company which is subsidiary of a public company. I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. So this is the basic meaning of your public company we have seen, right? In again the coming lectures we'll be starting with the public company in detail. You need to study the various characteristics of it and the private company, right? But few I'll tell you in this lecture only so that you understand. Meaning is clear to you all, what is the public company all about, right? The next thing you need to remember about a public company is the minimum number of members, right? Minimum number of members in a public company should be 7. Maximum members, there is no limit, right? It can be again unlimited. The next, for a public company, the characteristics is again they can issue shares in the open market and they can receive money from it, right? So whatever capital we have studied in this lecture is related to your public company only. A private company cannot issue the shares in the market and cannot raise the money from the common people. Fine. Again, few of the examples of public company I can give you so that you understand this part. First amongst that is your ONGC, that is Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, is a public company, right? Because the shares you can trade. ICICI Bank, Indian Oil Corporation, right? IOC, HPCL, that is Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited, HDFC Bank, Larsen and Toubro, Tata Consultancy Services, then you have Bank of Baroda, ITC, that is Indian Tobacco Company, you have Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, you have GAIL India, Reliance India Limited, right? So again, all those companies are your public companies. Amongst that public company also you have certain bifurcation, students. Limited liability company, by shares either or by unlimited liability, right? So this is again few parts regarding your public company. The only thing you need to right now remember is the definition. I hope you all are clear with three part. Not a private company, minimum paid up capital is 5 lakh, maximum no limit. Third, it is a private company if it is a subsidiary of public company, and minimum 7 members, maximum unlimited, can issue shares in public, and examples of few which I gave you. Is it clear? So public company we will do it in detail in the next lecture, and private company also will complete, right? So in my next lecture I will conclude this chapter, students, and in the coming weeks, right, your assignments are to be there, because again your assignment schedule will be put up in Google Classroom, but we are expecting that it will be particularly in the first week of August, right? What system, how you have to give the assignment, and what questions will be there, we'll be discussing again, and all the things will be informed to you in Google Classroom. Fine. So again, my topics for your corporate accounting will be completely theory only, right? No practical sums as such. Theory I need to focus more upon your short notes also. So once I provide you the notes, it will be helpful to you. Once I complete this chapter also, I'll provide you the notes in Google Classroom so that you can start studying it. Fine. So let's conclude the lecture here, students. This is all from my part. I, Professor Shaurya Shah, teaching you Advanced Accounting and Auditing, Paper 2, Corporate Accounting. Take your leave. Study hard, perform better. Have a good day ahead, students. See you in the next lecture soon. Thank you for your attention.